apparently the United States government has been speaking with aliens since the Civil War. At least that's according to a gentleman by the name of Dr. Michael Moran. He was a recent guest on Project Unity's podcast. I'll put a link in the description so you can check out the full interview if you want. Now, this gentleman made some quite interesting claims, and we're going to take a look at a bunch of clips from the interview and did a little digging on his background, professionally anyway, and everything is, there's more than meets the eye to this guy. He reminds me of a guest that I had recently on the podcast, maybe a couple months ago, by the name of John Stewart. Very much feels in line with this guy. So let's dive in, see what he's all about, and yeah. Anyway, if you're new to the channel, you like content like this, hit that subscribe button. We put our new video every day, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. I do not miss a day. Please hit that like button, y'all. That really helps out the videos. So thank y'all so much for the support there, vetters. And of course, comment down below. What do you think of this gentleman and his story, his claims? I, for one, did not believe him, but curious what y'all are going to say. Let's dive in. So where do I begin? Here he is. Here's his bio. Again, I got links in the description. Check everything out for yourself. He claims to have a PhD, be a doctor. He's got 2 PhDs, apparently. And this is his bio. And as we start to go down, I'll read you his summary here. He says, as an accomplished chief executive director and subject matter expert in intelligence, operations, science, and technology, I possess a strong record of success in managing and leading diverse teams, strategizing and executing plans, and managing specialized skills and driving business growth. So, typical sort of bio summary that means nothing, right? Just sounds like you do a bunch of stuff that you know, who knows. Anyway, says he's got 18 years professional experience. Well, we're going to take a look at his work history here that he claims to have here in just a little bit. But this is an interesting guy. So, before we get to his parts of the interview, Project Unity had on a gentleman named John Ramirez, who was an ex-CIA official. And he starts off the interview basically backing up this Dr. Michael Moran. And he tries to give some, credence to his background and basically, vouch for him. Let's be real. He's vouching for him. And let's just see what he has to say, because the things he has to say to vouch for him are very interesting. Y'all, you're going to want to stick around to the end when I sort of uncover all this. So all the vettings at the second half of this video. We're going to watch a bunch of clips from the interview and then go through the vetting process. So here we go. First clip, again, John Ramirez vouching for this guy.
So he's a program director for the various companies he worked in, but not up in main DARPA Prime. And so that's where the confusion came in, because, when you go up to the leadership of DARPA Prime, who are working for them as federal employees, you're not going to have them recognize them immediately. They'll have to dive deep into their program management portfolios and actually find where his contributions were made.
Now, people did that, and he is nowhere to be found on the DARPA website. Again, he's claiming to have been a director for special projects for DARPA, and there was nothing about that.
So I think that was part of the controversy that erupted, and I can say that I got to know him as a friend to the point that our family exchanges Christmas cards with his family. And so that's the level I know him at, as well as, that personal level, as well as a professional level with my interactions with him.
When you found out that I was speaking to him, you did mention that he was a significant insider. Is there any significance in relation to the UFO portfolio that he has, association with?
I would say this, that...
significant insider. Just remember that comment.
It is known that, he has a family association with my agency, the Central Intelligence Agency, And I won't go any further than that. You can also research, because it's open source, but the association may not be made in open source, that there was a vice admiral in his family that was very highly placed in the Pentagon, both in the Department of the Navy, for the Secretary of the Navy, as well as for the Undersecretary of Defense for research and engineering, I believe. So whatever, I may not have that completely right, but it was at the Undersecretary of Defense level and at the Department of the Navy level that his uncle, the Admiral, worked in. So I can say that much, and you can
Wait, what?
that up.
Look that up. Okay, real quick. I'm actually going to show that to y'all. So I found this guy. There he is, Vice Admiral Michael Moran. He has the exact, He has the exact same name, and that's his uncle. So he got his uncle's name. And again, I'll put a link in the description here. That's interesting. Has the same name. And let's see if I can move this up a little bit. It says right here, Moran reported to the Pentagon to serve as military assistant to the Undersecretary of Defense for Acquisition Technology and Logistics. In his first flag assignment, Moran assumed command of the Naval Air Warfare Center Weapons Division, Naval Air Weapons Station, China Lake, California, and assistant commander for test and evaluation, NAVAIR. So again, I'll put a link in the description, but I find that interesting that this guy has the exact same name. And he's supposed to be, his uncle? So I guess that's possible. Just seems interesting, right? But anyway, so there's that. Hang on. Let's continue here. Oh, hang on.
So my name is
We're getting to him. Don't you worry. Let me let John continue here.
So he's also an experiencer. I don't know if he mentioned any experiences.
Yeah, he mentioned
Oh, yes. Yes. And so
not too explicit detail, just that he's.
I can understand that. But here's the thing. So there are a lot of experiencers out in the civilian world, and they have valid experiences. But when we inside the intelligence and defense communities come forward and say, we're also experiencers, well, you can imagine it gets a lot of interest. And people start talking to you, and people start interviewing you, and because they want to know more. And so I think that he was in that situation, that he was known to be an experiencer, plus that he has a family background associated with the Central Intelligence Agency. And also that he did provide support for ODNI, National Intelligence Council. So that collection of facts led to significant people talking to him or getting to know him.
So real quick, you know what? We're just going to vet as we do this. We're going to save it for the end of the video. I think it's going to be better than trying to come back and explain that. So here he is with significant people. Here he is right here. Okay, you got John Alexander, Brandon Fugel, and according to Brandon Fugel, this guy is just a name dropper who's a nobody, who's like, LARPing, hanging on. Not anyone to worry about. Kind of a bullshitter, basically. Called him a bullshitter. And that's according to Stephen Greenstreet. So I guess you can take that with a grain of salt. And then here he is with Robert Bigelow. Right? Here's this guy. Now pay attention to his outfit, because he's basically wearing the same thing in the interview he did, which there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying. But it sounds like, he, wants to meet some people, get to know some people. Now, they say, he's worked on all this stuff. He's done all this stuff, right? So if we go to his work history real quick, it's just littered with interesting stuff. But one thing I found here, co-founder investor, Genesis Systems, Water Your Way, Florida, right? And it says current, 2020 to current. Found this. Greetings. Are you the Shannon and David Stuckenberg that founded Genesis Water Systems? And did you found it with this man, Dr. Michael Moran? He claims to have co-founded Genesis. Thanks. This guy, David Stuckenberg, look at this. He writes, he's not a co-founder and is not affiliated with Genesis Systems. Thanks for fact-checking. So it sounds like this guy's been hit up multiple times with this gentleman claiming to co-found the company that they've never heard of this guy. They don't know him. He's not a co-founder and not affiliated. So take that as you will. Again, links in the description. Check it out yourself. Now, another interesting thing about, his PhDs. And again, he's got all this stuff here. Senior projects officer, right? But you can't find anything on him. So, like, there's no, counterintelligence special agent, defense intelligence agency. I love how he just lists that, like 1 year from November, right, to November, 1 year. Again, it's just kind of crazy. Anyway, he's a medic, chief program manager for the Department of Defense. What? It's like, anyway, right here, education, PhD, philosophy and religious studies, the Universal Life Church School of Divinity. Y'all, that's this. You literally buy the degree. It's $19.99. You can buy this degree. Let me show you right here. $19.99. That's from this school, Universal Life Church. Right there. Just saying. Very weird. And then his other PhD, right here, public health from the University of Maryland. Emergency management healthcare. He's got a Bachelor of Science in Biology, it says, from University of Maryland from 2013. But then check this out. Senior project engineer for FEMA. How? How is that even possible? Not an engineer. How's he a senior project engineer for FEMA? I used to know the director of FEMA. I was friends with his son, and his dad ran FEMA. Buddy Young, that was his name. Anyway, this guy's BS, man. This guy's full of snot. Right here. So anyway, this guy, right? Yeah, look, we did all the vetting on the front half of this, so screw it. Now let's get to this guy's interview so we can listen to him tell his story. Now I'm going to warn you. It's might be hard to listen to because he just comes off as not believable to me. Again, I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying a lot of the stuff that he said doesn't line up, doesn't add up. And just you listen. Tell me what you think.
Moran. So my name is Michael Moran. Currently sitting in.
Real quick, tell me what you think, but I think he's reading from a script right here. I think he's reading from something off his computer, which maybe he's just trying to get his information right. And, kind of his first interview, to be honest with you. And I think he's trying to get out on other podcasts. That's what I read on Twitter. Other people, but once they looked into him, they were like, dude, you're full of crap. So they didn't have him on, right? But Project Unity was like, I'll have him on. And again, you got a guy like John Ramirez backing him up. What does that say about John Ramirez? Guys, not good. You got to be real careful who you vouch for. That's all I'm saying. Because I would love to hear John Ramirez's remarks on the rest of that. Because Project Unity, that dude that hosted, he didn't put any information in the YouTube description of this interview of like who this guy is and how to find out about him. And I get why. He didn't want to link to his bio or, his LinkedIn, which he deactivated his LinkedIn after this interview because people went and looked and he deactivated. Right. I don't think we'll hear from this guy again. if I'm being honest with you. But why wouldn't he put that information, right? Like, no source links. No source link. He could have put all the links I just put. Why not put that? Why not look into it? Again, for me, I think it's people need to be real careful of who they let on their podcast and the stories that they just let them tell without any pushback, without any questioning, right? And granted, okay, Jay, that's the guy's name for Project Unity. He does have John Ramirez on at the beginning, right, to sort of buffer it and vouch for this guy. But again, that's just this one guy, which I get it. He trusts that guy, so he just took his word for it. But you really got to do some digging. And I think, and Jay just said on Twitter, look, I put it out there and you decide. It's for people to decide. Okay, I can understand that, to be honest with you. This guy has a story he wants to tell. You put it out, and then you decide. So that's fair, right? Me personally, anyone comes on this podcast, you're damn right I'm going to ask them some questions, which is, again, why I think some people don't want to come on, but that's neither here nor there.
Quite a unique position.
Just watch his eyes. I think he's reading.
So my name is Michael Moran. Currently sitting in quite a unique position that I've gotten here over the past 20 years. And as a dedicated professional, and taking an oath to my country, along with my comprehensive background in science and technology, warfare research and development, also laying into intelligence analysis, case management, I coupled with fervent roles in such capacities of former case officer, staff operations, and technical programs officer. But also, I got into foreign policy and became a policy expert within a certain organization. And I'm excited, to highlight, that journey and extensively within my collaborations and work with different organizations and within DARPA's.
See the way he moved that mouse to move the document down so you can keep reading. That's my opinion. That's what that looks like. Now, again, he could be removing a notification or something, and again, there could be a solid reason for doing that. I'm not saying it's anything dubious, but I just find that interesting. Again, the guy just comes off just not believable. And again, look at the outfit he's wearing. He's wearing the same outfit from that one meeting, right, with Robert Bigelow. And to be fair, look, I worked in restaurants a long time. This guy just looks like a assistant manager of an Italian restaurant in a shopping center. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying I'm a stylish dude or anything. I'm just saying he doesn't come across as what he claims to have done. He doesn't have just when you hear somebody speak from this kind of background, they just don't talk like that, at all.
Different technologies office, significantly it would be the science technologies office and biotechnologies office. It's given me exposure to provide not just me, but with others that I work with invaluable insights into the intersection of different technologies and intelligences. And what we do as a whole is research and development into national security, but also into other roles as well, into civilian aspects. So I'm well rooted.
There, he just moved it again. Just was moving the paper again. And again, maybe this guy worked on some stuff, but he's just inflated it, which is what I think. He's had some connection, right? And he's just inflated it. Because that's what that guy, Jon Stewart, who I interviewed, did. And that's why I had to interview him. Because then when I asked him direct questions about it, the whole story changed, right? Everything would change. And I think that's potentially what this guy has happened to this guy. So he's, so, for instance, Jon Stewart would tell me, "Oh, I met with senators and they watched this alien video." That's what this guy was pushing, right? And then when I asked him about it, it turns out, well, he contacted them first and asked them to show it, right? But the way he made it sound initially was they reached out to me, they wanted to see this, they know about it, I've testified to them, right? I've shown them the evidence. But that's way different from, you approaching them and just saying, hey, can you take a look at this? Does that make sense? It's way different than them requesting to see it and there's something there and then follow. And then Jon Stewart would say, well, they never called me back. Yeah, no one would call him back because it was all BS, right? It's the same thing with this guy. And for John Ramirez to set him up, right, to vouch and set him up as an insider, it seems very calculated to do that, right? To sort of vouch, perch him up, and then now we should just take his word, right? It's like, do these people just think we're fucking stupid? Pardon my language. Like, it really almost angers me in some ways. Like, come on, do we not deserve a little bit better? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is that really what people think? People in the UFO community are just absolute morons, which is funny that his name sounds like moron, right? Dr. Michael Moran. I'm not saying that's his name. I'm just saying it's, coincidence. I don't know. Anyway.
In that bisect by education is
Here, let me go
in
back.
that so I'm well rooted in that bisect by education is I served in the U.S. Armed Services for close to about 18 years. And through that, my later years, I decided to take education a little more serious and wound up going to different universities and doing well in those. And by
Wait, I went to universities and did well in those. What does that mean? 18 years in the armed services. How old is this guy? You know what I mean? How old is, and then he did all this university work and all this stuff. Again, it doesn't make sense, right? He's saying he got a biology degree in 2013. Again, none of it makes sense. When you, again, look at his bio, listen to what he's saying, none of it adds up.
the end of my career, I wound up graduating with a couple of different degrees. And with these educational endeavors, I was mentored by
Couple of degrees. Again, it's just not how you talk. If you actually have like legitimate degrees, is that how you would say it? I don't know, man. This guy just screams LARPer, screams like just set up misinformation. Sorry.
very, very great people. My first mentor was Paul Murad. And in just going down the road, I've worked with people such as a great colleague of mine, John Ramirez.
You've worked alongside John Ramirez.
Look how he closed his eyes when he said that.
A great colleague of mine, John Ramirez.
Interesting.
You've worked alongside John Ramirez.
Yes, we worked on some projects together. And so in these, in these endeavors, in the very beginning, it's equipped me to be multifaceted with having multiple skill sets, trade crafts, different operational and technological proficiencies. And so a defining aspect of my expertise really lies in my interactions with.
You don't think he's reading that? You think he just has that and saying these words together, right? He is totally reading all of this.
Key leaders, networking, including people within the White House, National Intelligence Council, IC organizations, and also congressmen, senators, and
that was edited right there. Just saying, that was edited together. Now, it could have been just taking out the dead space air if he was like, whatever. I don't know, but that was edited.
Former current sitting president, which I've had the privilege to work with. So these engagements have honed my ability to really operate effectively at the highest echelon of decision making that I could ever thought of. My commitment is to safeguarding national security, but also working with teammates and being a great team leader and helping where I can, working where I can, assisting. and being beneficial to anywhere possible, but also being able to reaffirm um, that I continue my family's legacy. And now, my going back a little bit, going back to around the 1940s, my uncle, my great uncle, and my uncle worked on the Manhattan Project at Los Alamos, and so there's a family legacy there, and so that's something that I
His great uncle and uncle, father and son team, the Morans, the famous Morans.
continuing
And maybe there's something to this. I don't know.
today, and honoring today is to keep that within the family. And when my children grow up to, if they want to, do the work that, I'm doing or everyone else is doing, then, we keep the family's legacy going with that. I do have quite a few family members that still work at Los Alamos and Sandia, Oak Ridge, quite a few other national laboratories and Garrison's installations. And that's really a a summed up little comprehensive uh, tell to people that are interested.
Got to circle back on the whole family lineage and legacy. So you've actually got a real root.
Oh, man. So, nice little summary wrapped up, written, so everyone understands this guy's legit, right? Let's continue.
I didn't quite know what to do. In 2017, my last job, I was working with SOCOM and NASA, and in that capacity, or in that job, and not in that mission, or operations, you can call it. I started to learn about different things called like remote viewing, and I had no clue what it was.
Are that in NASA or in SOCOM?
Let's just say both. And so when it was brought to my attention, I really,
Let's just say both.
I want to say I didn't really believe in it. I thought it was very hocus pocus, very non-believable.
Well, he's an experiencer, so what does he mean? He thought it was hocus pocus.
I'm a skeptic, very much, and that's kind of that was my introductory period to all this kind of work. And upon getting out of service, I took about a year, hang out with my family again, and kind of see where I go from there. And it was about 2019. I got a phone call, and that phone call led me to an interview down in Los Angeles with some very prominent people with an intelligence organization. And that led me to the very beginning of which I would say would be my new career, and which has led me to where I am now, and which is very fascinating when I look back at it now, because when I look back at it, there was a lot of mentoring. There was a lot of handheld, right? And like when I wanted to go do something, a colonel would tell me, "No, you're going to go do this. You're going to go do this MOS. You're going to reclass." And it was something I didn't want to do, but I had to do it. Um, and with now looking back at that, if I didn't do all those things and complete all that stuff, I don't think I would be where I'm at today. And I'm very happy, with the people that I work with what I do, and have the opportunity to participate and help in certain programs and projects. And I'm very grateful.
You've dropped a couple of breadcrumbs I've got to just touch upon, because you were talking about SOCOM and NASA and remote viewing, and I'm just wondering if you've ever bumped into, in an operational capacity, Lou Elizondo.
Yes, I'm actually friends with them.
And so, is there any thread towards that connection?
I'm sorry, what? You're friends with Lou Elizondo? Interesting. That's not a good sign, right? Does Lou Elizondo know that? Does Lou Elizondo know the background? That doesn't make any sense. Does he know he has a PhD in divine divinity? Do you buy for $20?
remote viewing and your introduction towards that? Because it's quite well known that he is a practicer of it, and he's written about that.
That would be something that he would have to answer. Um, but that is conversations we do talk about. Now myself, I have done training, professional training for remote viewing. I am a certified remote viewer. I am also a professor and an instructor for remote viewing. And so I do go teach. Actually, this July, I signed up to go for a teaching position at the Monroe Institute. And so I'll be heading up to the Monroe Institute to teach remote viewing. And
What the F is going on? People on Twitter looked up, and no one at the Monroe Institute has heard of this guy. So that's interesting. I don't know.
guidance on that, but also, to learn a little more.
Is it trained in like an operational capacity as something if you go down a certain avenue of intelligence work that like they offer it to you?
Yes, yes and no.
Yes and no. Right? This guy doesn't know what to say.
It's the best way I can narrate it is that it would be you within your career and the choices and decisions that you make and how fast and your accuracy, you're tracked at a certain rate. You're watched. And so when I was approached for it, they told me, pretty much you're handpicked. And then you're brought into what program it may be, or with which organization it may be that's going to be doing the training with you. And my training instructors were the greatest people that I've ever known. Very friendly, very great people. Did a lot of great work. And saying I did a lot of great work, I mean, post all of my training. I was able to work with the Department of Justice, the U.S. Marshals, and Fugitive Recovery.
When you listen to this guy and you listen to this whole interview, he has literally worked with every department in the United States as possible. Like, this guy is the most well-rounded individual in the history of well-rounded individuals, which is impossible, right? Again, people show you who they are. Believe them, right? They tell you who they are. Believe them. All right, this guy is so full of BS, in my opinion. I think he's not telling the full truth. I'd be curious to get Lou Elizondo's comment on this. Lou Elizondo's got a lot of questions to answer for when he comes back out on the scene and starts doing interviews again. Right? There's so much that he's going to get asked. It's crazy. And this guy's one of them. There was no way. I mean, it's not good. Anyway, let's move on to the spicy clip.
We've been speaking with alien intelligences for quite a while, and I think maybe somewhere along the timeline, within the last 150 years, going back, by the Civil War, maybe a little before, because you got to go back in time. You got to look deep in time. Is that there was help. There was things happening. And the one thing about my family was, since they're part of the Manhattan Project, before my cousin passed away, he had gifted me a bunch of information that his dad had did on the Manhattan Project. But it wasn't for the Manhattan Project. It was more specifically for people coming over from Germany that were scientists, and then also from Japan. And a lot of the devices and technology that they have were superior, way advanced than what we had. And that was like my first initiatory family like involvement of, this is where our family, works on, comes from, and and does. And reading that information, there's There was a couple of operations called Paperclip,
Yeah.
and some other ones. Now within like Paperclip, there is other operations, sub to that people aren't aware of. And so you had people like, Werner von Braun, right? Who participated in many programs. A lot of people know him as a rocket scientist. He built rockets and stuff. Not everything he did. He worked at Los Alamos. He worked at different labs. He worked in super soldier programs. He participated in super soldier programs,
Super soldier.
and so there's a lot of mystique. I guess you call it mystique, right? What they brought over, what they did, and if you go to Germany today, there's a lot of tunnels that are closed off. But if you were to find a way to get in there, there's miles and miles and miles and stuff still left in there that the armies closed off back in World War II by the end of it.
Yeah, this is a thread that
So anyway, I'm done listening to that guy. Look, I'll put a link in the description. You check it out. That this interview is spreading. People are talking about it on Twitter. It's, to be fair, a lot of people are calling out the BS. A lot of people. That's what all the comments are full on the YouTube, on Twitter, and the post about this. Like, nobody believes this guy. So thank God. Thank God people are able to see this as complete nonsense. But maybe there's a kernel of truth there. I don't know. A lot of times you build it off of that. So maybe he does have this family history. Potentially. I don't know. They say so. That's what happens with guys like this, in my opinion. They say so much that it's hard to fact check it all. You know what I mean? It's like they just throw this huge net out there of misinformation, and then you're kind of lost because it's so much. Like, how could this guy? It's impossible, right? And then no one's heard of him till now. He's just now wanting to come out and do interviews. Doesn't that seem odd? Doesn't that seem calculated? Doesn't that seem set up? Right? And that John Ramirez now wants to vouch for him. He's a remote viewer, training, special, all the stuff, FEMA, engineer, medical, PhD. Like, it's just he's worked with every department of Defense, Department of Justice, Armed Services, the Defense Intelligence Agency, the Central Intelligence Agency, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the ATF. This guy has worked with everybody. DARPA, Monroe Institute. He's teaching at Monroe Institute. He's a certified remote viewer. It's, again, he's connected to the Manhattan Project, Werner von Braun, special projects, all this stuff, right? Just, seriously? I'm curious who believes this kind of stuff, in my opinion. Now, most people will just go, well, I'll just wait and see what happens. So maybe it's possible. I get it. Totally cool. Totally cool. In my opinion, I just, look, if it turns out I'm wrong and he's right, then I'll admit it. But for now, putting this guy to the side, not going to pay attention to him, right? I definitely would love to hear Lou Elizondo's response to this. Does he know this guy? Does he vouch for him too? And if he does vouch for him, then why the discrepancies in his past, right? Even someone like Lou Elizondo doesn't claim to have worked with all these departments and things and clearance and all this stuff, right? Does that make sense? Like, not even that, not even him. But this guy isn't. He's a true insider, right? That's what's being purported. I hope he's not one of. I think this guy has been a source for people and has fed information to some extent. Who knows? Now, Jay, just to be fair to Jay from Project Unity, he said he's not sure on the whole thing. He just letting people decide for themselves, right? So, but I will say during the live chat, people were trying to ask questions about it, and he was just deleting comments and saying they're trolls. But they're just trying to vet this guy, right? They could smell the BS a mile away. That's the thing with humans, like, right? We have that sense, that sensibility. It's literally in us. Now, we can choose to ignore it or not, right? That gut feeling, if you will. And with this guy, your gut just goes off, and you're like, something not right here. Something's not right. You don't know what it is. Think of it like uncanny valley, right? When you see CGI, right, and special effects of a person that's not real, you don't know why it's not real. You just know it's not real. Just something about just instinctually you can see the uncanny valley, and that's what's happening here. There's an uncanny valley with this guy of his story. Just it's not right. Like, what isn't right, you know? And I just showed a few things. That took me an hour to put together that stuff that I found. Imagine if someone did some real digging into this guy's background. It would all explode, right? So, I don't know. Be curious if we hear from this guy again. I hope not. But again, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I will admit it. This guy is who he says he is. Okay. But again, he makes way more claims in this interview. So, I don't know. It's over 2 hours. I mean, I don't know if you can sit through that if you want to, but, you know, I did it for you, and that was painful. Not going to lie. That was painful to watch all of that. And those are the parts that I picked out that I thought you guys would want to watch. So anyway, all right, guys, I was going to do a video today on The Big Thing with Christian Harloff. It's a show that they have, but I saw this and I wanted to do this instead. So once I've watched that video, I realized there's not really anything for me to cover. I've already covered the Matt Laszlo, Jeremy Corbell, Alien Bodies, video, Representative Luna and Gates and all that. So anyway, I've been talking to a guy from that channel, a contributor. His name is Pavel. He was on that episode with Christian Harloff, and he helps him set up the interviews and does stuff with them. So that guy's real cool. I'm sure we'll be doing something, potentially maybe talking to him. I don't know. Yeah, so anyway, go check out that video with The Big Thing if you want to see an interview with Matt Laszlo. And, it's a cool channel. They typically cover movie news, but they're do UAP Tuesdays or I think that's what they call it, UFO Tuesdays maybe. And they cover the topic. And I think they started a new channel to start doing daily stuff, basically what I'm doing, which I get. I see a lot of people sort of wanting to emulate some of what Vetted's doing, right? The daily grind, daily videos. I see some people wanting to get into that. Now, and I'm not saying it's because of me at all. I'm just saying it's similar to what I do, so that's interesting. I say the more the merrier, the more people covering this and doing the stuff, that only helps. The tide rises all ships. Is that the saying? So yeah, check them out. Go check out that video, and I look forward to see what they do. More on it. And yeah, there's definitely a lot more channels covering this stuff, and I think people are seeing that covering it more is what we need, right? More people looking into this, more people talking about it. I think that's a positive thing, in my opinion. So anyway, thank y'all so much for watching. We'll see you guys on tomorrow's video. I don't know what it's going to be just yet. And yeah, we'll go there. Don't forget, we launched our Patreon and merch and our website yesterday. So go to vetted.show, and you can, get a T-shirt, beanie, coffee mug, sticker. I kept it very simple. People put out some great ideas for other merch, and I'll get to that in probably like a month. I just want to keep this out first, and then I'm going to plan on some of these other designs that people came up with. So we got to have like a Vetted y'all shirt, right? Like, come on. So anyway, thank y'all again. And don't forget, if you want to sign up for Patreon, we're going to do a weekly private sort of Zoom call where I can meet and talk, and we can, get to know each other a little bit better if you want to. And again, I am going to do another live stream publicly on the YouTube channel. Going to just do it once a month, the beginning of the month, first of the month, every month, big old live stream. So let's get at it. All right, y'all. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Remember, every day's a gift. Peace.